Hi, guys, and thanks so much for tuning into another Tea Bites with Miss K. So, this week we are at week 4 with diving into the Define You workbook. And this week we would be focusing on regaining your control. At this point, we talked about some things like understanding what success looks like from your viewpoint, what inspired you to decide that you want to see some change and you want to move on and you want to see some improvement in some areas of your life. But then also we kind of dived into some of the negative things that get in the way as far as our language is concerned, and the power of the words that we speak and how we can make some significant improvements in how we feel, because the energy that is involved with negativity, if we're using negative language, it just takes so much energy out of us, and it requires a lot of energy into maintaining that negativity and negative language. So today, again, like I said, I wanted to focus on, which would be page 17, I believe. I'm going to double check behind myself. Yep, page 17. And it also follow through to page 18, where we talk about regaining your control. And one thing that I shared in the workbook was a letter to my addiction. So it's a Dear Addiction letter. And no, I don't have any history of substance abuse or alcohol abuse or any type of addiction to, let's say, those types of substances. However, there are other types of addictions that we can have that can prevent us from being our best selves and having a better quality of life. So just a few examples of those things could be, you could be addicted to self-harm. So like cutting, self-sabotage. So every time you get ready to do something successful, or every time you get to a certain point in your level of success, all of a sudden that you decide that you want to go and start sabotaging things and destroying the progress that you made. So you have to start over from scratch. It could be an addiction to codependent relationships. It could be addictions to unhealthy food. It can be addictions to depression, addictions to lying and manipulation, different things like that, being controlling. These things could serve also as an addiction, and it's like something that we need and we become dependent on in order to feel, survive, thrive, or to feel like we are ourselves. We're searching for something else that is not typical. We're searching outside of ourselves to participate or engage in something to cause us to feel a certain response, which is like pretty much the equivalent of using some particular type of substance. If I'm always anxious and excited, I want to use something that's going to cause me to mellow out. So I might decide that I want to use alcohol because it'll make me relax a little bit more. I might choose to smoke marijuana because it's something that's going to ease my nerves and kind of calm me down. In comparison to if I'm someone who's always down, I might want to use something that's like an upper. So I might decide to use cocaine, or I might decide to use some other type of drug. And right now I don't want to go too much down that lane. I don't want to feel like I'm giving a lesson on which drugs to use trying to receive a certain type of feeling. So, and if you hear any dangling, that's my bracelet, just going back and forth. And I am a woman who likes to speak and tell stories, as I am a woman of color. So I will use my hands a lot to enhance my conversation and my dialogue. And so that's something that I don't really have a problem with, and it's not something that I really want to work on. So just try to bear with me a little bit. I try to keep it to a minimum. So anyway, going back to there's power in addiction, just like there's power in recovery. So whenever we're engaging in some sort of activity that is not healthy to us and is not conducive to us obtaining a certain level of good, healthy success, we need to work on that. We need to figure out what it is. We need to address it. So that means we need to put a name on it. Something is going on. I'm engaging in something. I can't understand why I keep having these problems. I'm engaging in something that's not correct. So I will be transparent. If you purchased the book, then you already know and you read my letter to my addiction. However, I'm going to share just a little bit of what it talked about. I'm not going to actually share the letter. Because I feel like with the letter, if I just give like a snippet of it, I feel like I'm not being fair because the full letter was important. And so I talk in the letter about how I became comfortable with being mistreated, and with being mistreated, that was kind of all I expected. And that was like the expectation in any situation and scenario. So everything from employment to relationships to communications to even the way that I treated myself. And I felt guilty for doing things for myself, for taking care of myself. I felt guilty and was felt guilty for treating myself to something or putting myself first, being told that I was selfish. And so because I went so many years with believing that everything it was that I was doing was wrong when I put myself first, or I tried to do something positive, when I tried to do anything that was not feeling bad, I was told that I was wrong. So therefore, I became conditioned, because it was almost as if I received a punishment every time I tried to do something better, or try to do something where I focused on myself and I did not want to feel bad. So therefore, it just became much easier to function within, or what I perceived to believe was functioning, which actually was not functioning in being able to, just like not be happy and kind of give in to what other people wanted. And at some point, and this was years later, we're talking about over at least a decade later, I'm realizing that this is not what I want. I'm actually not living. I looked at the quality of my life, and the quality of my life was not exactly what it was that I wanted. Yes, even though everybody was not able to see where I was at and that I wasn't necessarily happy, I wasn't happy because it wasn't always genuine, the things that I've done for other people. Sometimes it was because I felt obligated. Because they were manipulative and they were controlling, and they knew that I like to see people happy, and I don't like to see people without. So if you don't have something, I want to try to, especially if I have it, I want to see how I can help you out. But I had to learn the gift and the power of being able to say no. Just like you say no to drugs, you have to say no to the things that mean you no good. And they were, sometimes like certain people. If you are a good person, you attract bad people. And when you attract these people to you, it's like they are drawn to you. Oh, I see that you're this type of person. So you just constantly have this long history of people like this in your life. And then it just kind of becomes the norm, and you find some comfortability in it. And then the other people or persons are happy with all of that you're doing for them. So it's really important to do what it is that you can do to overcome your addiction. And I would encourage you and empower you to write your own addiction letter.